Baile yìí tó ń lọ yìí.
Ibẹ̀
stop ẹ̀ fàwálẹ̀. Oya.
Lótú eléyìí ṣì ń lọ custom.
Ewu lẹ ń play báyìí.
Ìyẹn ṣì ń lọ sẹ́ custom.
Wọ́n tán tiẹ̀ stop ẹ̀ ó yẹ kó a ti fà wálẹ̀ náà.
Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀?
Dọ́jẹ̀ ń wò.
Ok.
Tó lílé. Why?
Eléyìí.
Oh no. Don't you? There is something. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀?
No,
this is the speaker. This is the speaker. Àwọn là ń ṣe mistake gari. He is going now. Ó ń lọ na this is control ele.
Okay.
Oh, you get the man in food in 5 minutes of petrol that time.
Story yẹn wà pathetic.
Ni money.
Ó lágbára.
This is my cake of my phone have.
Màá ti wá to drive down next one. Màá ti hun nǹkan.
Hello listeners, you're welcome to the Wellness Circle, your safe space for honest conversations, emotional healing and intentional living. I'm your host Oluwasegun Ibitayo, and it's always a privilege to share this peace space with you wherever you are listening from tonight. Tonight's topic is one that has built homes, healed hearts, inspired songs and sometimes broken spirits. We are talking about love, but not just romance. We are exploring love as wellness. Love for self, love for others, love that heals, and love that teaches. Joining me is our amazing in-house analyst who will help us break this conversation down emotionally and psychologically. Welcome to the Wellness Program.
Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Yeah. Welcome back. When people hear love, the first thing that comes to the mind is romance, relationship, attraction, affection. But love is bigger than that. And do not forget this, our station, iPower 102.7 FM. You can join us on our social media handles on Facebook, iPower 1027 FM, on Instagram, iPower 1027 FM. Same with our TikTok and YouTube. So, Mr. Akin, how would you define love from a wellness perspective?
Thank you very much, Mr. Shegun, for having me on the program today. Like you always said, the wellness circle is often interchangeably referred to as the wellness wheel that represents a holistic ideology of well-being. It emphasizes the interconnectivity between dimensions of human health and fulfillment. Now we're not talking about love. Love, as you all know, is not treated as a standalone dimension, but it is woven into key aspects, particularly self-responsibility. And the Bible made us to understand that love thy neighbor as thyself, which simply means that the first person you must show love to is yourself. A Yoruba adage goes thus: "Ino kinjo ọmọ kì í jó ni kó jọmọ ẹni tí ara ẹni nà kọ́kọ́ gbọ̀n. So when it comes to the issue of love, your first love should be yourself. You have never said love your neighbor, you said love thy neighbor as thyself. So when you say that love is not treated as a standalone dimension, but it's woven into key aspects, particularly self-responsibility and love. Intimacy. Love is conceptualized as a foundational element of emotional and relational health. Self-love is an act of personal accountability and compassion towards oneself, like I said the other time. Self-love is and relational love, including romance, familiar, and platonic reform, is as a trust-based connection that fosters authenticity of mutual support. You see, this ideology of wellness and love posits that love, when balanced, contributes to overall harmony across dimensions like emotional, social, spiritual wellness, and it promotes a life of purpose and resilience. So when I'm talking about love, like I've said the other time, the first love must be to yourself. So when that is well taken care of, I can assure you, other aspects of love, other ways of showing love will now fall in place. Thank you very much.
So it's possible to love, but not in a healthy way.
Of course, like I said the other time, by the time you begin to love some persons more than yourself, it's no longer healthy. I'm trying to say this. The person you can show, you see, we are not Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was not mistaken as the Bible made us to understand. Or God, let me put it that way. The Bible said that, and God so much loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. You understand? That we will not perish but have an everlasting life. Do you know that even Jesus Christ, do you know that even God did not just give his loving Son? Jesus Christ surrendered himself. According to what you're made to understand. This simply means that the first love must be to yourself. That was why I went as far as making us to understand the Yoruba ideology of self-love. That iná kì í jó ọmọ ẹni, iná kì í jó ni, kó jó ọmọ ẹni tí ara ẹni là kọ́kọ́ gbọ̀n. So what I'm saying initially is that as a child, your first love must be your parent. As a parent, your first love must be your children. Because those are the closest persons to you. Those are people that you are directly connected to along the bloodline. You understand? So you see, love first must come within. It must first be to yourself before it starts spreading to your parents or your children. Before it starts getting to your siblings, friends, and what have you. They are just secondary. And like I said the other time, this love, it varies. We have the platonic love, we have the agape love, we have the romantic love. You understand? Yeah. It now depends on the device we choose to apply in the love as it is being conceptualized in the well-being circle. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back. This is iPower 102.7 FM. So let's bring this inward now, self-love, because many people pour love outward but feel empty inside. Why is self-love so critical to wellness?
Well, thank you very much. Self-love, no doubt, it enhances self-care and motivation. Self-love encourages individuals to prioritize their own needs, reducing negative self-talk and building a positive self-image. This leads to greater motivation for healthy habits such as nutrition or exercise, and supports emotional resilience against life stresses. My friend, the very minute you see, and let me say this, you must be deliberate about this. Self-love comes first. Are you getting me? Yeah. So the very minute you are able to adapt the ideology of self-love, you will not say you want to stretch your neck after somebody. No. And we are living in a very complex society whereby we need to really define the kind of love we are showing to each other. Those people think they love you, by the time the chips are down, that is when you know the kind of love they have for you. So that is why I've always said it. You see, anywhere you find yourself, I mean, your interest must come first.
Okay, so now let's talk about romantic love. One of the most desired and sometimes most complicated forms of love. From your experience, what defines healthy romantic love?
Well, when we're talking about healthy romantic love, it all begins from somewhere. You say romantic,
Yeah.
which means a love that is really between a man and a woman, or a boy and a girl.
Yes.
A saying that goes thus: beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. You cannot expect a man that loves a well-endowed lady, maybe by way of maybe just want to have fun and what have you, and now maybe one of his frivolities, he now impregnated a slim lady. There will be problem. We should not deceive ourselves. That's why I said beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But unfortunately, we have been mesmerized. We have been, we are being jaundiced. Let me use that adjective, jaundiced here by our religious leaders, saying that character comes first. Look, character is secondary when it comes to romantic love. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. Because what I mean is that as a man, as a woman, first and foremost, you must have a standard for the kind of person you actually want to date. Let me say date some around. Maybe marry. When you are still into boyfriend and girlfriend, it's a different ballgame entirely. When you begin to get to courtship, it's a different ballgame entirely. When that courtship begins to tilt towards marriage, that is where you see men begin to sit down, begin to think about, is this lady my choice? But let me tell you this, like I've always said, I'm trying to say this: an average ugly lady had the possibility of having good character. An average physically deformed lady had the possibility of having a good character. You know why? Because already that such person are already on the receiving side. You understand? So the only thing that can probably make her to be endeared to anybody is to wear that positive character. But the inner character is still there. That is why it's not amazing when at times you say, oh, this is my husband, this is my wife. It wasn't like this when we were into courtship. Guy, marriage is a different ballgame entirely. So when it comes to your romantic loving well-being on the wellness circle, like I said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh,
That's somebody, experience of it. That's somebody that would like the way devil is being painted as a person that is black, not dark, or black, with two horns and a tail. Nobody will like it, but in the truth of it, a devil doesn't wear such look. That's why they say that nobody likes the devil is a lie. If an average lady should see the devil, the real devil, if one love with the real devil, going by the various ornaments, let's say gems that the devil was actually carved out from or was made up of, an average lady will fall in love with the devil. But the way they are painting the devil as someone that is black with a very long tail, with a spear, so to speak, or an arrow edge and two horns, nobody will like such things. So that's why they tell you that nobody loves the devil. It's a lie. Let them give us a true picture of the devil. You'll be amazed at the level of the handsomeness of the devil. So when it comes to the issue of romance, it's a different ballgame entirely in the wellness sector. Thank you very much.
We also understand that love also exists beyond romance, in friendships, family, communities. How does this type of love impact wellness? When we are talking love between when it comes to friendship, families, and the community.
Well, you see, thank you very, very much. That is where we do mistake it. Look, in the chain of love, we call something in the military chain of command. So in the chain of love, it starts with you. After you, it comes to your family. Now, if you are married, no doubt, maybe your wife, your let me say your spouse, so to speak, might be second. But in most cases, I discovered that your parents, if they are still alive, they are the second. If the parents are no longer alive, if there is a very good relationship amongst you and your sibling, my dear, most times your siblings come second. I've seen instances where a married man will always try to define the line between his wife and his family members, his siblings in particular. So we must get this thing right. And that is where many ladies, so to speak, I'm sorry to say this, do mistake it. How do you think you can just overnight, because maybe you are married to one guy, the guy may be 30, no matter how young the guy is, at least you'll be 15 years before you start dating. No matter how loose the guy is, the guy had a deficiency, he'll be 15 before a guy can be so bold to walk up to a lady and talk to that lady. That guy cannot be less than 15 years old. Now, that guy has been living his life with a particular group of persons for the past 15 years. Now, along the side, he now came in contact with the lady. Maybe they now dated for another 15 years. Let me put it that way. They now got married. Which means that guy has been in a relationship with some persons, his siblings, let me be specific, for 15 years. Now other 15 years again, alongside his purported wife, or as case may be, with the siblings again, making 30 years. Now think that because you are married, so the next thing for you is to now sever such relationship that have passed through thick and thin in life. No, it's not always easy. So in the chain of love, it trickles down from self-love, parent love, children love, as the case may be, then siblings in most cases. It is when your sibling begin to disappoint you. Let me tell you this. That's when you begin to fall. That's when you begin to put your wife in the second chain of love. But as time goes on, you discover that if your wife's of good character and stuff like that, maybe she doesn't do things that get you off balance, then you can begin to consider her into the second round. Now, when you now begin to have children, of course, you understand. But it becomes a serious dichotomy between the sibling and the spouse when it comes to the issue of love. Because along the line, it's possible for you to be experiencing some difficulties, some challenges in the so-called marriage. Where do you fall back to? The siblings. Particularly, that is where the role of the parent comes in. A right-thinking parent, let me put it again, a right-thinking parent must make sure, must be deliberate, must be intentional about making sure that their children are in very good relationship. It really helps a lot. It helps a lot. So that is just so in the chain of love. Like I said the other time, self-love comes first. Before then, your siblings, maybe your wife and children, as case may be. Then another thing, friends is secondary. Of course, they will tell you that there are some friends that are even more closer than brothers. They are right. I think we have instances in the Bible, for instance, the case of Jonathan and David. You understand? But of course, even despite that, that the Yorubas will say, no matter how big the farmland might be, no matter the closeness, no matter the love, there will still be boundary in that farmland. If not for now, but for the future. So that is just it. There's some friends in Akure, they call themselves Oremeji. When the Oremeji left, when they died, the children could no longer continue the spirit of Oremeji. So you understand?
So with all this put together now, you are saying love is not just a feeling, it's a practice.
Of course. It normally starts with the feeling. But as time goes on, as events begin to unravel itself, it becomes, you begin to see the other side. It's either that feeling begins to grow, or it begins to depreciate. It all depends. But I can assure you, as long as we are human, with different ideology, with different background, with different mentality, there's no how we will not have challenges. The only people that survive feeling disappointed and what have you are the siblings most times. Are the siblings. That is why it's very rare that we tell you that that guy, that boy is a bastard. He is only a bastard to the man, but not a bastard to the mother. Are you getting it now? That child might be a bastard, to the man. But a child is never a bastard to the mother. It is practically impossible because she knows that she gave birth to that child. So even if everybody are calling her bastard, like the saying that goes us, monkey no fine, mama like him. So you understand that is the level of love. These are the things. So love is not something you just actually some are hen, some are natural. Like the love of the mother to the child is natural. That is why whenever you see the child sucking from the mother, you will look at that into the mother's eyes. You understand? That is why it's always difficult for a man to maybe begin. That's why it's very easy. Let me put it that way. It's very easy for a mother to manipulate their children against the father.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that. And like you that is saying, you they say that Baba General. You understand? Particularly when a man begins to have two wives, it becomes double jeopardy. So love is not something that's just evolved. No. It is something that you worked on. It's something, it only evolved. It is natural when it comes to maybe from parent to the children, children to parent, and then siblings. But when it comes to the issue of the wife and what have you, most times always different ball game. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Alright, before we close tonight's circle, let's reflect. Are you loving yourself kindly? Are your relationships emotionally healthy? Do you give love freely but wisely? Where do you need healing in love? Just take a deep breath and release it slowly. Let love flow first within you, then outwards to others. So, thank you for being part of today's wellness circle, and a special thanks to our in-house analyst for those powerful insights. Zach, in your parting.
It's all right. Like I've always said, we need to just integrate love holistically. You need to assess love role periodically using wellness wheel tools, ensuring it supports rather than dominates other dimensions. For instance, combine love with social wellness by joining community groups or with spiritual wellness through value-aligned partnership. If imbalance arises, seek professional guidance like counseling to realign. Ultimately, managing love is a wellness circle ideology. It's about viewing it as a renewable resources that, when nurtured mindfully, propels a balanced and fulfilling life. That is just my closing remark for today's program.
Right,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
very much. Until next time, keep nurturing your mind, keep protecting your peace, and keep choosing love in its healthiest form. I'm your host, Oluwasegun Ibitayo, and this has been the Wellness Circle. Until next time, stay well and stay loved. Chill.
Of course, the confidence is there.
Chill.
It's a good program. It's a program to bag. And mashallah, yeah. As time time is going for 2 hours and see. Because there are still so many points that are not even addressed here.